Under AMLO, Mexico's military has been growing in strength and power, with its military spending increasing from 6.3 billion in 2018 to 9 billion in 2020, then dropping back down in 22 to a 7.8 billion dollars. We've also seen the role of the military expanded to that of law enforcement as far back as 2006, although we've seen that role further expanded in 2019 with the creation of the National Guard, which replaced the federal police. The military's role has also been further expanded to encompass roles such as building airports, vaccine distribution, the distribution of school materials, and other roles that were previously filled by civilians. The expanded military budget could also be attributed to Mexico's development and adoption of new homegrown weapon systems, such as the SAX 200, which is a submachine gun based on the FX-05 platform, itself being a natively designed and produced assault rifle. And this expansion on Mexico's research and production of military technology is due to Mexico wanting to step away from its reliance on foreign suppliers, such as the United States, instead opting to develop its own homegrown weapon systems. Such, Mexico has invested large sums into the production of local variants of the Sandcat, such as the Sandcat MX, its own armored vehicles, such as the DN-11, which can then be equipped with homegrown weapon systems, such as the Seraph Balam. At one point, the Mexican Navy was even working on the development of its own anti-ship missile systems and on the acquisition of Russian-made SU-27 fighter aircraft, which it ultimately backed down on, likely due to pressure from the United States. And Mexico's efforts in regards to its military has actually increased its global firepower index rating by 12 ranks, making it one of Latin America's more powerful militaries. Now, given the prevalence of organized crime in the country and the militarization of those very same organized crime syndicates, I would say that Mexico's increased military strength and the expansion of Mexico's military's role is a positive. I would also say that increase in Mexico's military strength is a positive in terms of protecting Mexico's national sovereignty, and especially with the current rhetoric by far-right politicians in the United States, which are openly seeking approval from their base by calling for intervention in Mexico. And although a majority of Americans likely don't support military intervention in Mexico or in Latin America in general, we can't help but be aware of the US's history of military interventions in the region, especially when it comes to the exploitation of the region's natural resources for the purpose of American economic interests. As such, Mexico's increased military strength is essential for the preservation of Mexico's national sovereignty. And of course, it helps that Mexico's warriors are among some of the most effective at their jobs. According to a report done by the Red Cross, in a majority of conflicts between armed groups, there tends to be an outcome of 4 injured for every 1 killed in action. However, this isn't the case for Mexico's military. Based on numbers released by the Mexican Army soldiers kill 8 enemies in action for every 1 that they injure. This number increases with the Mexican Marines, who kill 30 for every 1 they injure. Well, you should keep in mind that these numbers come with an asterisk. The proficiency of Mexico soldiers was put on full display on July 2022 when 15 soldiers were attacked by 60 sicarios after those soldiers had apprehended one of the leaders of their cartel. Soldiers were then offered 2 choices: $500,000 if they let that narco leader go, or death. According to witnesses, the soldiers responded with, "Then I guess we're all going to die today," as they proceeded to push back a numerically superior force. That all being said, as much as this information might make some of us feel this sense of nationalistic pride, we have to take into consideration that the increased militarization of Mexican society is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it increases Mexico's capability to protect its national sovereignty, as well as fight an increasingly militarized organized crime movement. But on the other hand, we cannot forget that historically, Mexico has also used its military as a tool of oppression. For instance, from 1964 to 1982, we have the Mexican Dirty War, part of Operation Condor, where the Mexican government heavily cracked down on leftist movements and student organizations who sought relief from political oppression and the authoritarianism of the PRI-controlled government, backed by the US, of course. The Dirty War saw the disappearance, torture, and extrajudicial killings of thousands of Mexicans, often at the hands of the military. This includes the Tlatelolco massacre in 1968, where Mexican soldiers opened fire on unarmed civilians. And although 1968 might seem like a lifetime ago, the Mexican military still has been accused of engaging in extrajudicial executions, even now in 2023. For instance, June of 2023, surveillance videos appeared to capture Mexican soldiers pursuing and arresting 5 men in Nuevo Laredo, only to then extrajudicially execute them, allegedly. This then led to the arrest of 16 Mexican soldiers who now face trial by military tribunal for violating military discipline. Some may justify the actions of these soldiers by saying that the people that they executed were allegedly members of a cartel, but even so, that if Mexico is going to be a modern nation where the rule of law and justice reigns supreme, then we cannot allow soldiers to take on the role of judge, jury, and executioner, especially not in a country where its military has already been used as a tool of oppression that has led to the disappearance and murders of thousands of its people. As the Mexican military grows in strength, there needs to be systems put into place that holds them accountable to the civilian population that they have been sworn to protect. We cannot allow the fear of organized crime or the fear of military intervention by more powerful nations to allow Mexico to militarize to the point that we begin to lose our democracy and that we begin to become a military police state. Those are my thoughts and opinions on the increase of Mexico's military strength. Let me know what you think in the comments.